Hello there, this is Ray Lutz with Citizens Oversight, and today I'm going to give a tutorial. Susan Schneider is also on, and there may be some other people joining us. We're going to be talking about, in a first part, how to work with the Copswiki in general, and then second one is how to start a new project. Back in the mid-90s, I was looking for a platform that would help to assimilate information into a knowledge base and to allow us to curate and organize things. Since then, we've had some platforms that have come up, such as Facebook and others that are mostly social media platforms that don't really let you organize things very well. But they do allow people to very easily communicate and contribute stuff. So, and there, as yet, we don't have any really good way to organize the information that comes into Facebook and other platforms. We also have noticed that many of the platforms that have come and gone, we've had to try to get a consistent platform that would deal with the various video platforms that have finally resulted being YouTube as being the leader, and the various social networks that continue to be propagating. So essentially, this platform, if you go to Citizens Oversight, I'm going to be showing you, this is the front page of the website. This is at copswiki.org. This is based on a platform that's called FOSS-Wiki, or Free Open Source Wiki. The wiki was started off originally with this thing called WikiWiki, way back when, and it was essentially a very simple thing at first, which was that you can just edit any page, and then it automatically links to other pages using special formatted links. And of course, we're all familiar with Wikipedia, which is essentially a very static wiki. In other words, each page is very much just static information that is not updated dynamically, and but you can edit each page and link it to other pages manually. The free open source wiki is much more dynamic, as you will see. It's mostly organized around information rather than presentation. It can be very nice in terms of presentation, but here we just haven't done a lot of work doing that in terms of getting it to be super fancy, but the information is there and trying to organize the information is there. First step I want to do in this first segment is to show you how you can edit simple pages and put your information into pages. This is the first sort of, I guess, threshold we need to cross, is to let you see how easy it is to edit the pages. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to show you that down here a ways toward the bottom is the list of webs, and we really have only exposed two webs here to the public, the common web and the COPS web. But really, there's more webs that are in use, and we just don't want to get everybody confused. And the URL up here at the top, you see it's copswiki.org, and then the web is next, common, and then a page name. In this case, it's web home. The top page of each web is called web home. Now, on this platform, they had these concepts of webs, which were separate areas, but we actually have found out that it's just kind of a waste, and it's difficult it's just one more complication to have those different areas. And so we just have one called common in general. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go over to one called Sandbox, which is as you can guess, the place where we can play around and create simple pages just to test things. So we can create a new topic here by clicking this. Now, this is not usually the way you create topic, by clicking a button. But I'll show you how you usually do it, or in general, how they first started to do it. So let's make this a tutorial example. Now in this, notice I made what's called a wiki word. That is, there's a capital letter in the middle of other letter, lowercase starts, you know, the normal start with a capital, lowercase, but then there's a capital in the middle of one or more of them, and that's called a wiki word or a wiki name. And that when this system finds that, and you, by the way, going into the login, you have to be already known by the system to be able to log in. So let's just say, before we do anything, let's save this first example with nothing on. Okay, and let's go back up to the sandbox. Now it has automatically listed it here because it has that set up to do that. You can see anytime there is a wiki name here, wiki word with that capital, it's assumed to be a link to something. And when I click it, I'm going to go over to the page with nothing on it. Now we have two ways to edit this page. You can click up here, which is the WYSIWYG mode, which makes, you know, what you see is what you get mode, or down here, which is more of a raw text mode, which is the one I usually use because it is easier for me to control what goes on. But if you're a beginner, you might like and in some cases, it's best to use this button up here, especially if you're pasting in articles from places with formatting images and other things. It's best just to paste it into that edit mode versus a wiki text mode. Let's go through this edit mode first so you can see what's there. There's controls up here you might be used to, like bold, italic, you know, bullet points, numbers, indent, you know, quoting and so forth, make links. All of these are kind of what you may be familiar with. When you're in this mode, you can transfer to the other mode by clicking the wiki text. And that takes you into just this raw text mode, which is kind of like what you might see in an email. And that's what we're going to work with at first. So there's you can get help here by clicking this on what things mean when you're in this sort of emailing kind of example. This is a little bit beyond what you might get with, say, Facebook, because there's no formatting allowed in Facebook at all. All you can put in there is just basic text. But you can put in this sort of basic text in the Facebook, and if you copied in here, it would actually get formatted, because this is more like a what you might see in an email, and actually is very readable, as opposed to, say, what you might do if you were actually doing, you know, HTML, which we really don't want to work with at all. So if we want to make a heading, it's 3 dashes and a plus sign. That's the first heading, and this is like heading 1. We'll just put heading one up here, just for fun. And then we have some text. I'm just going to be putting in random stuff as text here. All right. And actually, in order to not have to type in a whole bunch of stuff, maybe we can grab something from one of these pages. Yeah, let's just copy a bunch of this text right here. Right there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to where we were. I can't see it because my image is in the way. Let's see where we were. Right there. Let's paste that in. Now it's going to get pasted in without any formatting. You put spaces in between. If you do that, you get paragraphs out of it. You'll see in a second. So that's heading 1. Now, if we want to put heading 2 in, which is the smaller size heading, 1, 2, 3, you do 2 pluses, heading 2. And if you want to do heading 3 and so forth, you do more plus signs. So you can see it's very readable, even though it's not formatted. Now, if you want bullet points, you just use 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, a star, and you know, this is like bullet, a bullet point, and so forth. So you can put in, you know, your text here. Now, as long as you put it on the same line with the bullet point, is if it wraps around, then it's still going to stay in the same bullet. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a subsidiary bullet point, right? All right, some more of those subsidiary bullet points. Those are bullet points. So if we did the same thing though, instead of having bullet points in the next section, if we want it to be numbered. So this is another example. I'm just going to put these in first and then show you what it looks like. People should basically, I think, this sort of formatting, even though it's not WYSIWYG, it's, I think, pretty easy to understand. You don't have to use different numbers here. It's going to figure out the numbering for you. Okay. Now let's save this and see what it looks like. Saving it actually publishes it up to the website, and anybody can see it if you're working on it. They can't edit it at the same time as what you're doing. You get an hour. So if there's more than one person working on the website and they're trying to interact with each other, then if you're in the middle of editing, it's not going to let the other person edit or take control for it after you've let it go for an hour. So you can see here we have heading 1, the largest heading, the paragraphs that we established, heading 2 with bullet points in the second level, and then down here is the numbers, which it did the numbering correctly. That's basically what mostly you're going to do. But now let's go into we're going to go back into the wiki text editing, and we're going to, in the middle of this, we're going to put in a link to a page. All right, I'm just establishing a link right there. So normally when you're using a web, like if you're a webmaster and you're trying to make up a website, make a whole bunch of pages and then you link them together, and it's sort of hard to get the links to all be correct. In this, what you do is just the opposite. You put the links in first, then you make the pages. So here's a link to a page. It doesn't exist yet, but it's still hot. So when I click on that, it actually creates the page. It's called link to page. And what I usually do is at the top here, 1, 2, 3, I put in this special word called topic. Now, this is a macro, so it has percents around it, and there's a few macros that they have defined. And this just takes the name of the topic, so that can be the same all the time. So this is sample page. Okay, so let me just paste in the other stuff that I had. So here's the link to the page. Now let's go back up to the tutorial example. And now the link to the page is actually linked in. When I click it, it goes to the next page. You can just do this as much as you want. Make new names and link them together. It automatically links them. That was the basic concept of the wiki. That's really all they had, and it became huge. All that they were giving people was a way to link pages together, and they were all static. And this is a type of static pages that's provided, say, with Wikipedia. Everything on this page is not dynamic. It's a static, just what I put on the page and nothing more. Let's do one more thing of static pages before I show you the dynamic part of it. That's very, very powerful. But this is pretty powerful too. This has the concept of tables. You can make these either as WYSIWYG mode or in this mode using these vertical bars. So let's say we have the name and age. I'm putting 2 spaces, which is supposed to center it. And then let's say rank. All right, so let's say next line, we have a Fred. And then you don't have to line these up, but just so that it looks good here, I'm lining them up. Let's say that thread is 30 and his rank is A. Okay, and then we're going to have Jill. Her age is 25 and her rank is B. Let's make it D. And let's say Sally. and her age is, I want it to be 5. And her rank is J. Well, let's make it C. All right, so now just as we see here, actually I don't want, instead of Jill, let's make it, I named this before Fred, like Carol. All right. So there we go. There's a simple, you can go on and on with as many columns or rows as you want. Nice thing about this is that it becomes kind of a hot table when you save it, and that you can it's all sortable. The name is sortable. You know, you can do it up or down. So you can make a nice, really nice, you know, useful table, and also all of the controls that you might have in a spreadsheet, such as adding up columns and so forth, is available in this. Now let me show you one of the concepts behind the dynamic nature of this. And we're going to go back over here to this thing called news media. Most of the website is based around this news media, but it's kind of come down to, instead of news media, it's pretty much just any media. Not necessarily news, but you know, that's how it started. So this is still the name. And here is all media, listed by date, newest first. This is pretty much all media on the site. And you can see from this, it's a pretty long list. There's some 1,770 some odd items in the list. Now this list is not here. If we take a look at the page, I mean, it's not actually on the page when you look at it, because if we take a look at the wiki text page of this page, you see that pretty much there's just this one macro here called all media. Now you can define these yourself, but the all media macro is defined as essentially a search of everything on the list on the site. Without going into a lot of detail of how that macro works, if you look at this here, what it does is it looks through all the media, which is essentially common, and then it's usually a M number. Let's click on one. This is basically the event that happened, the no nuke dump presentation in Carlsbad on 6/24. So it started as an event that didn't happen yet. And then later it becomes an event that already did happen and has media associated with it, such as this video that was a live stream video at the time. This was the calendar entry that we set up, and there was additional media that is available. Sometimes we collect things in the news and put it in this list here. And the invite. Now, this is a media item, and it's called, and the reason it finds it is because it has this thing at the bottom called media form. So the page itself has some static information, which is kind of what I showed you. This embedded video, this common calendar, and this table that we set up here, which is static and not dynamically generated. Same with this picture. And then it has this form at the bottom, which has a fields and contents. Each field is the same. So there's a title, a publisher, an author, when it happened, a remote media link. If it was a news media, like it was a news article, we'd have a media link, maybe to the one on site here, and a remote link to what it was actually on their site. And then the way this works generally is if you do have an embeddable HTML that you can get from things such as YouTube or Facebook, if you put it into this field, then it'll automatically be up here at the top. There's sort of a lot of automatic thing. So this is a news item typical example with these fields at the bottom. It includes notes, when we're going to do it. The keywords are what what project it's in. So this is actually the project, Stop Nuke Dump. That's the main project. And the related keywords are the related energy policy, nuclear energy, other project that's related to, but it's not the main one. When you have an event like this, we also have a list of venues about where it is with the maps and so forth for each venue. But let's go over here, just for example, Stop Nuke Dump. This is a project, so this is going to be like what we're going to do in the second half of this. When I click on that, it's going over there. And what it did was, in the time that it took to display, it just determined the stuff on the page, which was static, which is this top part. And then also down here at the bottom is the summary of articles submitted. So this is dynamically created. What it does is it looks through all of the media that's on the site, those 773 items, and pulls the ones out that are tagged with this Stop Nuke Dump keyword, and then puts them in this list in reverse, date formatted like you see. And that gives you this list. So these can be, each one of these items can be multiply tagged so that they will be shared with several projects. And that's kind of the power of this in terms of getting these to be used together. That's the main way that we're using it. But in general, you can, let's go back over to the sandbox. We were there a while back. Tutorial example in the sandbox. What we can do here is just really quickly to show you a dynamic example is say we want to put in a search and use and what are we going to search for? Any topics in this on this web that have the word and. Okay, let's try that, the simple one there. I'll show you how to figure out so here is, actually searched the sandbox web and found 37 topics that have the word and in them. And here is the topic name, and it's highlighting the word and in that topic. So here's a dynamic thing. This doesn't exist, this list of stuff doesn't actually exist on the page as a fixed bunch of information. It was generated at the time. And you can make it a little bit more rigorous by saying search for and then. That should be a common phrase that we find at least one time. Do we find any and then? Yeah, there's 3 of them with and thens. So when you do a search, how do you figure out what the syntax is? That's sort of we've kind of made this less very recently. We took this system, if you go to system web, it tells you the macros. That's probably something to list on the rest of the pages because it's something I have to go to commonly to know what the macros are. So any one, oh, hi Carissa. So when any one macro name, or you have curly brackets around parameter equals values, and this is a list of the macros. So we were looking at search. I'm going to go down here to search. You can either just put the text in, and it's going to search that web for the text and show you the list just like I showed you. Or you can say what the web is that you're looking at. And instead of like we were in Sandbox, you could make it another web. You could put common in there or different web that you're working on. You can say what the topic name is, just explicitly, or one with a wild card. Exclude topics, make the scope differently, etc. There's a whole bunch of things here. Put what order you want. It's kind of ends up being like a database, okay, in a way, where each, especially if you have forms on each one. So if we go back to the common, here's a list of all the webs once you get in here. So we're suppressing these because they're too confusing to people. If we go over again to the news media, this news media is like a database. And in each one of these news media items is a, let's go to one like this. So here is a press release that we put out. I put it in here directly using the formatting that's here versus a PDF, which is what I usually use. But here is an embedded PDF, which will display as soon as it gets around to it. And then what I want to show you though is at the bottom, we have potentially embedded Facebook comments right here. But down here is the media form. Now, the media form is defined on another page. Let's take a look at that real quick because it's of interest. This is a table which defines the fields that are in the media, title, text, how many, this is how many characters are displayed in the actual input field but there's no limit to how much can be in each one of these. That doesn't limit it. And then, so each one of these is a name and content. This defines what is going to be in that form. So I'm going to go back one. Here's the media form for that. We go to it. Here's the media form for a media topic. All right, so these are the fields. And so what you end up with is a database where these are the fields, if you will, in the database. Plus there's stuff at the top, which can be of any format that's on the page. But and the difference between this and a regular database is that this is not going to be as fast as a regular database. So as soon as it gets to be many, many, many items, it's not going to search as fast. Number two, but there is some changes they're making there. But number two is a normal database, you have to change all of the records at the same time. Like let's say you want to add or change one of these fields, it would go back through and change all of the records and add that field in. In this type of database, it doesn't. It only adds the field in when the item is edited the next time. Go back to this particular news media item. This was the event. No, this was, I'm sorry, this was the press conference. Let's hit a different one. And then we'll go on to our next subject. Here's a more typical press release that we did, where it's pasted in here and made to be a format that's suitable for the web, but then also it has a related document. Now you can attach as much as you want to any one of these topics by hitting the attach button. Attach, it's down here at the top, and then it will list them here, what the attachments are. Let me show you a topic with a lot of attachments. We have one that has basically 12,000 pages. They're not each individual attachments, but it is, let's see where it is. Snapshot, April 14th, so it's a better way to get to it would be, I guess, let's let's go to not the full list, but we'll just go to the stop nuke dump list. It's definitely in that. So here's the project. This is a different data set, the projects. Here you see I've listed a few I've embedded a few videos because people are coming to this page readily and they want to get a quick background for what's going on. And then we have down here the list of media, and there is the, let's see, letter writing campaign. So this again is just organized according to date. But you can organize it any way you want. If you want to change the organization, that would be an option. I'm looking for the full set of documents so I can show you that. When did that happen? It would be early 17. Settlement talks, settlement phase, documents. Okay, here's the example of documents of record where we have this PDF table. We've also linked in basically a Google Doc spreadsheet on the Google site to this. And then these are all the attachments. This is an automatically generated list of the attachments based on just they're sorted by name. So I'll show you what's in it in a second. And then these are the MD5 checksums so that people can compare if they're downloading, because they're so big, people would have to download. This is the actual list of attachments that's automatically generated on the page. But let's look at the page. This is what's on the page. Let's go down to the attachment list. See, there's this macro called attachment list that lets you sort it by like file name and exclude certain ones. And then the format, how you want it to be listed on the page. That is pretty handy if you have a page with lots of attachments and that you may be at any time attaching more. You don't want to have to update the list on the page. Now, if I go back, I'm not gonna edit anything that's going back to the list. So this is an example of a whole bunch of attachments on the page. One media item with a bunch of attachments. See, you can't do this on a place like Facebook or something else. You can't organize information like this. And so that's why we've sort of migrated to this tool. So what I'm going to do is end the presentation right now with regard to the general use of the Copswiki. I would thank everybody for listening in, and in a second I'm going to start the next one. So hang on if you're online. Let's see, I want to